Hello YouTube, welcome to the channel, it's Daggers. So today is going to be my review of Wuthering Waves as a non-Genshin player. I've never played a day in my life. I'm familiar with it a little bit. Traditionally, I've been much more of a more like CRPG player. I grew up on the Baldur's Gate series. I played Icewind Dale, a lot of those early PC games. Took a break for many years, got back into gaming, played New World, played a bunch of other RPGs. I loved Baldur's Gate 3. It was the game of the decade for me. I have played Tower of Fantasy. I have played other gotcha games. I've played AFK Journey. I've played a few other, pay to win games. I even played Diablo Immortal for a very short time just to kind of check that out. But I wanted to make a review and talk about a few things that I kind of haven't seen and maybe a perspective that you're not hearing, because there's just constant comparisons, and I understand why they're there. But as someone who's never played Genshin, I'm going to give my review of Wuthering Waves, and hopefully you find some value in it. So I want to say for me, I haven't heard this being discussed at all personally, but this to me is the biggest win in Wuthering Waves and what's going to keep me around for a long time. That's concurrent global launch. The fact that they launched this game for all regions, all servers are on the same schedule. I know that there's people who want a test server, and that's one thing, to get it a week early and test it. I hate when games are out in the East for months on end before they come to global. It's not something that I think works personally. I think it ruins the game for the rest of us in the world. The theory crafting's done, the min-maxing's done. Everybody's kind of figured everything out. There's wikis on the entire game. It's kind of, I learned this lesson through New World, right? It was my first MMO launch. I got super excited. I got into all that. I'm, meta researched, and I had a plan, and I was in a company before the game even started, and we min-maxed and rushed to level 60 and yada yada yada, and it was a great time. I had a lot of fun, but in the long term, I think it personally hurt my experience with the game. I went back and played the game a second time through much slower, and I enjoyed the game much more the second time through. So I don't want to take away from anyone learning the game. And I feel like when they launch it in, CN and in Tower of Fantasy, right? For me, this was one of my biggest frustrations and one of the main reasons I quit that game. There were a lot of other reasons as well, but for me, the biggest reason was everything was figured out, right? People knew what banners were coming months in ahead. They knew what teams they were building. They knew what to skip. They knew which heroes were strong. They knew where the power creep was going to happen. It wasn't interesting, right? There was nothing to learn. Everything was figured out. I didn't want to play a game like that where someone just hands me a recipe and I just cook the meal. That's boring as shit, right? Like, I don't want to do that. So concurrent global launch, I think, is a huge win for this game. It allows everyone to have some value in theory crafting. I've been putting out videos on Alto. I think this man is hugely slept on. His decoy right here taunts all the bosses. So when you're 1v1 in a boss, I did a solo. There's a video I have out on the Heron stage 4 solo with Alto. No supports, just Alto. Soloed it in 3.5 minutes. Barely got touched, right? Because of that and a few dodges. But I wouldn't have tried him if the game was completely figured out and everyone's like, don't do this or don't do that, or we know it works here, or we know it doesn't work here, right? Like, this to me is an experimental time for everyone in the community, and I think that the community has handled it pretty well so far, and I really hope that they don't start gatekeeping based on meta. People can play the way they want. If you want a quick swap, go for it. If you don't want a quick swap, if you want to play a little bit more slow paced, do a longer rotation, a 10 or 15 second rotation on each character before you swap, that's perfectly fine too, right? That's kind of the way I play. I only quick swap if I need to for a boss mechanic, or if I need to use that as a game mechanic to overcome something the boss is doing or that an enemy is doing, right? I don't quick swap just to quick swap. I know it's there. I know it provides iframes. I use those iframes when I can, but I don't abuse them all the time. It's fine if you do. That's just not my style, right? So that to me has been the biggest thing. I think exploration, number 2, is top notch, right? I think the wall running, and here I'm gonna play a few some footage in the background while I chat. The wall running, I think, is top notch, right? I played a lot of open world RPGs. I've played RPGs with mounts. I've played RPGs with jumping, with climbing. I've played Breath of the Wild. New World. Like, a lot of stuff. I think the movement and the exploration in this game is one of the best. There are a few things I am not a huge fan of, but for the most part, I give it a 9 out of 10. Right? It's top notch. I think when the world gets bigger, they need to look into mounts. For the map size the way it is right now, perfectly fine. But when you get 2 or 3 maps this way, a year and a half down the line, I think they're going to need to invest in mounts or look into more methods of faster world exploration. Because it's going to get really tedious if you have, especially for new players, if you have 3 large maps. That really did happen in Tower of Fantasy, and they had to invest in giving certain mounts, like underwater mounts and stuff like that, because they created friction and then tried to sell the solution, and that kind of pissed everybody off. So if Wuthering Waves will avoid doing that, fix your problems, but don't create problems to sell us a solution. Okay, monetize your game. That's fair. You're a company, you need to make money, but don't create problems just to then sell us a solution, and the only option for a free to play is to grind 6 months. That's going to make everybody really mad. So kind of off topic, but exploration is great. The puzzles don't bother me. They're not why I'm here, but I also don't find them to be irritating. So I think the puzzles are decent, and I appreciate the daily world reset, that being able to farm your gear, farm the echoes in the world, and that it resets every day. If you've got friends, you can play more. If you don't, once a day, it still keeps it casual friendly. And then I'm going to move into echo farming, and here's where I may have a hot take a little bit. I feel like the pinch point that everyone is feeling with echoes is the fault of the devs in their game design. I think we should have been restricted to access to gold echoes until much later in the game. I think we should have been able to invest in our purples, to have a use for purple echoes, to have a use for the purple tuners, to get good mid-game gear, not end-game gear, but mid-game gear, which is the same discussion with the 4-3-3-1-1-1 versus 4-4-1-1-1, mid-game versus end-game, right? We all know which one is technically better. One is more achievable than the other, though, right? So I feel like the echo farming should have been the same way. We should have been restricted to where your data bank didn't let you get gold echoes until you hit UL 40. I know a lot of people are probably going to be mad at that. What, you're going to make us wait even longer? Yeah, I would have made you wait even longer to even have access to gold echoes. I would have had the hit 15 at UL 40, and then once you hit UL 50, that's when you can go past 17 and get to the 80% drop rate that we currently have right now. My opinion, I think it would have balanced the resource gain and the resource drain, because it's not as much resources to invest in blue and purple. They can't be leveled as high. It doesn't take as much. You don't feel as bad when you crunch those back up because you got some crap rolls, right? And you could have reinvested those purples back into your golds to get more rolls on your golds, right? So I think that was a big flaw in the game design, and I think the devs should have gate kept us harder on echoes, honestly. And I think by the time we got to gold, we would have had more resources. We would be at a higher UL level, and we would be farming more resources. And then you can truly use gold to min-max your gear and not start your gear, right? The way I'm at now is like, if I don't get a gold piece, I'm not going to level it up, right? That's not 100% true. I do have some good purple pieces, but it's pretty much the mindset for most of the community. Why get something that's inferior when you can get something that's better? Well, cost, resources, and just efficiency, right? But anyway, I think that's enough of that. I think echo farming does need to be rebalanced because they gave us access to high-level echoes too early. Difficulty. So here's the next one I want to talk about. For me, perfect. I don't know about everyone else. There is hard content in this game. There is some easy content in this game. The dungeons, the daily stamina spend, I don't think need to be super hard, right? I'm in there to just grind out some rewards, make me do it in a minute or less, and then I'm good, right? And for the most part, that's what happens, right? Our characters are leveled up enough that you jump in. It doesn't take a lot to kill a world boss, open that, or go spend your energy wherever you want, right? I think that's perfect, but then it does have the harder content in the hologram boss fights, in the Tower of Adversity, stuff like that, gives you rewards, but it it scales much better, and it's more optional, I guess. I think that a better way to say it would be they don't force you to do the hardest content to get the best rewards. And I know that sounds counterintuitive. It sounds counterintuitive when I say it, but for a game like Wuthering Waves, I think it's the right decision the devs made, right? I don't want farming my materials to be the hardest content in the game. I want to just farm my materials, right? So the most rewarding, the one where you get all your upgrade materials, I don't want those to be difficult. And I think they've maintained the right balance. And then the difficult content gives you rewards, but they're not game breaking and they're not required for your progression. They're just the icing on top of the cake. But the cake is, balanced pretty well, in my opinion. So I think difficulty's been really great. The one thing I want to talk about with combat, again, combat smooth, fluid, fun, everything that everyone said about this game is true. The combat is amazing. The camera issues are still a problem. And I do notice it a lot with Alto when I'm trying to be very particular about my positioning, especially for that solo run, when I was learning that solo run and having to get my positioning really good in order to make sure that the boss stayed taunted onto the clone and that I was out of the AoE hitboxes. But to me, that was really interesting to figure out. But the camera kept being an issue. And I actually have a video of one of my other Alto clears where I was talking about Non-Genshin and Alto, and it was just doing a world boss in the overworld. And once I killed the world boss, the camera locked on to the rewards, the little star where all your rewards are. And as I was running away, it kept pulling my camera back, and I would pull it back forward, and it would just jerk my camera all the way back to the rewards until I got far enough away from the boss that it was out of its aggro, not the boss, the rewards. I was out of the rewards aggro radius, I guess. It's really weird. That's, to me, what they need to fix is the camera issues. I have all of the camera correction controls turned off, etc. And it still pulls weird, and it still has some issues with targeting characters I don't want it to. I noticed on Yinlin a little bit as well. When I'm trying to apply her mark to everyone, it will try and force me back to a different character that I'm not looking at. No, I want to attack in the direction that I'm looking. If I've already hit the 3 characters behind me and there's 2 in front of me, I want to hit the 2 characters in front of me. I don't want to attack behind me. So I have a little bit of frustration with that with Yinlin as well, but that is it. Other than that, I enjoy the combat. It's a fun time. It's really fluid. And there's a lot of interesting combinations and I think things that are still left to be discovered. So difficulty, combat, excellent. The new player experience, the story, this is what I'm going to wrap it up after this, but I think that the story is what everyone has said it is. It's not very good in the beginning. It gets much better. I like Scar as a character. I thought they could have done a little bit more with that, but that Black Sheep story was the first time I really got invested and actually paid attention and listened to the entire story. So that was good. And then the last act, the final battle with Gion and everything, that was getting so epic. I actually got on Discord with my son and streamed it to him so he could watch it because it was super cool. So I think the story definitely picked up. Gion's personal story was really good. Yinlin's was really good. I thought they were about the right amount of length for me personally too. I don't want my side quest to take 4 hours. Maybe hour and a half to complete the whole arc. I'm good, right? And I think that all the other stuff at the new player experience, the freebies they've given out, the rewards, stuff like that, it's all been more than adequate. I'm completely happy with it. I think the devs have been really responsive. I've heard the concerns with them giving too many rewards and not enough rewards, and I do think they should celebrate their milestones when they're global milestones with their global audience. And I don't think they should be scared to give away more standard banner pools, right? Everyone is saving for the limited characters, but we want to get dupes of the standard characters. I want to get some more dupes of Alto. If he's not on the next limited character banner, like I may actually get to a point where I'm loving Alto so much and I want to get his last 2 dupes that I go pull on a limited time banner just so that I can target a 4-star that has a rate up chance, right? And I think that I don't mean just give away. I mean ways to earn in game, ways to grind in game. Don't be afraid to give us some more access to standard banner pools. They don't even have to be rewards. That's not what I was trying to imply. I think I said that kind of wrong in the beginning. I mean just rewards as in-game rewards, right? So in the tower, have a few standard pools in there along with the Asterite in the Tower of Adversity, or have more than 3 purchasable from the holograms, or have that reset to where you can grind out 1 or 2 standard banner pools a week, right? I still have several weapons I want to get. I'd like to get some dupes of those weapons, right? But I don't want to spend my limited currency on the standard banner, but I want to pool both to get dupes of my 4 stars and to get, both the dupes of the weapons or the 5-star weapons, right? And I have very little access to standard pools. And I know that most people say that they have no value, but to me, the standard banner pools have value. Not as much as limited, 100%, but they're not worthless. I would like to have a way to grind some of those out and earn some of those rewards in game. And with that, I'm going to kind of wrap up my review. If anyone has made it this far, I appreciate if you would like, subscribe, comment, new channel. But I just wanted to give my perspective as someone who, has not seen a few of the points that I'm trying to make talked about in the community, and I'd like to get this out if anyone's willing to watch it. So have a great day. Peace.